Bills Mafia, what's going on? Welcome to your Saturday night destination for all things Bills content. I am one of your hosts, Dave Myers, along with, as always, Rad and Rob. This is the 2-Minute Bill. It's the fastest moving Bills podcast out in the community. We have a ton to talk about. The Bills obviously had a game today against the Browns, so let's get right to it. All right, fellas, Rad, how we doing, brother? Happy Saturday.
I'm feeling great, man. The Bills won today. That's all that matters to me on a Saturday. Say Saturday, Sunday. I just care about a victory. I love a victory. That's my favorite thing.
Rob, what's up, brother?
Victories always make your day a little bit sweeter, at least the next couple of days. If we lost, I'd be mulling it for a couple of days, but hey, we're good. We're good.
Even a preseason loss, you'd be upset?
Okay. Maybe I'm overstepping a little bit here.
I mean, the starters didn't even really play. So if the starters played, they didn't look good, then I'd probably be like, I got some stuff to work on. But so if you guys are new here, thank you. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you show some love by hitting that like button. If you like the stream, please like the stream wherever you're watching, Facebook, YouTube. If you are on YouTube, make sure you guys subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. That way you are notified when all the Built in Buffalo content goes live. And if you're watching on X, please drop some comments and reshare this repost. So how this show works is we have 10 topics we like to talk about. We have a rated R segment, we have an overtime segment, and we have a hot take segment. But I feel like talking to the fellas, and this was Rob's idea, which is a great idea. We're going to start with our rated R segment first before we get into the meat and potatoes of the 10 topics, because there's something that I feel like we need to talk about that a lot of folks, if you've been on social media within the last 12 hours ish, a story came to light that was very sensitive in matter. And I feel like a lot of people, if you're in the media, were having a hard time trying to, I don't want to say wrap their head around it, but they were trying to figure out how delicate to be with the situation. And Rob, I'm going to start with you because I know that this was a passion of yours, because you and me were talking last night and then this morning, and this is something that both you and me, how it came out, I'll just leave it there. I'm not going to use the person's name. I'm not going to give him any credit for anything. How it came out is it sucks. Like, it kind of sucks. And now it's mainstream and everybody's talking about it. So what's your take on what happened with Ed Oliver and the unfortunate circumstances surrounding his son? What's your take on that?
I'm going to try to get through this without getting emotional, because this is a type of situation where in life you have a playbook for a lot of situations, and this is unfortunately not one of them. I can't even imagine what his family is going through in a situation like this. And, in our industry, we are supposed to break news as soon as we hear it. And you sent me, that link last night. And I wanted absolutely no part of it, because in these types of situations, I mean, I've been through media school. You wait on these types of scenarios. You don't break the news like this guy did and use it as a credible situation. You don't do things the way that he did them, and I lost a lot of respect for that gentleman. But I also props to the Bills media, any Buffalo sports media member that knew about this and chose not to break the news. I respect those who had the opportunity to break this and didn't, and waited. And I mean, Joe Brady talked about it today. It's such a tough situation. You guys can say what you want to say about it, but
Red, what's your thoughts, brother?
I can't help but share the same sentiment as Rob does here. To me, to see somebody take an opportunity like that to put themselves out there and try to get attention on social media, trying to victory lap somebody's, like, the loss of somebody's family. I mean, like, it's ridiculous. It's disgraceful to what we do, right? And obviously we're not on the same level as Bills media, but it's a disgrace to what the media stands for. It's a disgrace for what we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to convey information. We don't sit here and reveal information about people's personal lives that they clearly don't want to share. I don't think anybody should be pressured into sharing details like that before they're ready to. And I mean, I can't even imagine how it must have felt. It's a terrible thing to think about. It really is, because at the end of the day, he should be allowed to have the grace that me or Dave or Rob or anybody else that isn't a professional athlete, that isn't in the public eye, he should have the same courtesy to grieve, to handle the situation privately. He should have that courtesy. And to sit here and take that away from somebody, a human being, just like anybody else, to take that courtesy away is below anything that I could possibly imagine. Anything. It's terrible. And I mean, I could sit here all day and talk about how awful of a person this is, but I don't want to continue to spew negativity on this situation, because constantly stacking this negative, I mean, we all are really mad at this guy, but I just can't stop thinking about Ed and his family. I can't, because I don't know what it feels like to lose a kid, obviously, right? I'm not a father, but I can't begin to imagine what it feels like to lose a family member. I know how that feels. And I just, my heart breaks for them. It does.
Yeah, so I don't know if everybody knows or not. I mean, obviously the two guys I'm talking to know, but I have two children, and I have a son and a daughter that are 9 and 11 years old. And when I first heard about this last night, again, I shared it with Rob just because I share everything I find on social media with Rob. Like, Rob's my go-to guy for obviously he's our Twitter operator. So we both agreed, like, we wanted nothing to do with this topic. Like, this shouldn't be something where somebody should put their face attached to something just for engagement, right? I know we're all members of the media, right? I know Built in Buffalo is a media brand, right? That's my job. It's my full-time job, is to be not a source, but to be an outlet for Bills news, Sabres news, Buffalo sports, things like that. And all I thought about was how I would feel if somebody went around and was telling people that happened, and it was something that happened to me. And I can't even imagine. Now, I'm going to put a quote up from Josh Allen, because he insisted on meeting with the media after the game. He was not obligated to. Joe Brady was the only one that was obligated to meet with the media today. And there's more to it. There's more to this quote. But I think as a Bills community, I think the biggest thing that we should do, instead of trying to click for engagement, we should try to be embracing this man. This is a guy that plays for the team that we love. This is a man that obviously is going through some things. And Josh even said, like, he can't even imagine what it's like, and I can't either. So I wanted to discuss that, because I wanted to, it's out there, and I'm sure a lot of people have seen it, and a lot of people probably have their own feelings about it. You guys here, you could share your thoughts in the chat. You can, give Ed some love in the chat. If you want to drop some red and blue hearts in the chat, I'd appreciate that. That'd be great. But yeah, so prayers for Ed and his family. I know that when he is back at One Bills Drive, he's going to get a ton of love from those players and that coaching staff and from the fans. So that's all I want to say on that. I'm not even going to mention the guy's name. We're just going to keep it moving. All right. So we've doctored up the show a little bit, thanks to my guy, Rad, Mr. Graphic Producer himself. So we're going to have 10 topics. They'll all be on the screen. I want everybody in the live chat, whether you're watching on X, Facebook, YouTube, please be a part of the show. We read some feedback from last week's show. I'm going to try to do a lot better at getting some of these comments put up on the screen. A lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today is going to be part of the takeaways from the Bills preseason game against the Browns. And then there's going to be some other thoughts that we have on the team heading into the final week of preseason. So the first one out the gate is Tyler Bass. And this is directed right at Rob, because this was Rob's hot button topic. I think a lot of Bills fans are concerned. He didn't kick all of last year. When we finally got to see him through training camp. Didn't look great. He was missing some gimmies. He made a 52-yarder today and made all the extra points. So he was perfect today. And the 52-yarder he nailed didn't seem like there was any issues. I know everybody's been over micro-analyzing his kicking stance and his follow-through and all that stuff. So, Rob, you're first up. What's your thoughts on Tyler Bass?
I still think we need some competition there. I think in any profession, competition behind you lights a fire under you and makes you work harder and work better. And Tyler Bass does not have that. This is right now his job. And something that I'm concerned about is after a year of no football, essentially, that we're going to see a lot of the inaccuracies that we saw of Tyler Bass in the last season he played. 82.8% from the field in terms of just field goals is not great. It's not. 77% is about league average. So essentially he's an average kicker. Now, the one thing you get with Tyler Bass is he has a leg. He can make a 60-yard field goal. And we've seen that, in warm-ups recently. He can absolutely make those field goals, but he might miss a 35-yarder, and you don't want that. And I'm concerned that Tyler Bass will lose the Bills a game this season.
All right, Rad, what do you say?
I think first I want to preface this by saying I absolutely respect Tyler Bass, and I understand he's got a lot of legendary moments with the team. I'm going to go to the extreme here. I think it's over. I can't.
Woo.
I've seen too many moments in his time with Buffalo, too many times where it's a gimme kick. And I know I get kicking's not a gimme, right? You can call it whatever you want. But in the NFL, when you're making, 5, 6, 7, 10, whatever you want to say, millions of dollars, and you can't hit those 30-yarders, those extra points, you're missing kicks in the divisional round to tie the game against the Kansas City Chiefs at home. You've got home field advantage against the team you've been trying to beat for years. And you miss a gimme 40-plus yard field goal to tie the game. And then he continues to get this leeway to be below average, like Rob cited, to be this guy who's just going to be a journeyman. He is, to me, he's one of the McDermott meal ticket guys. And, when you say that, a couple names come to mind, right? The Jordan Phillips, the AJ Kleins, the Bale Inspectors. Tyler Bass has overstayed his welcome. He's a great human being. I'll give him that. He's not a terrible person by any means. And I don't want to say he's a terrible person, but as a kicker, I don't want him here anymore. I would rather have an 8th grade soccer player kicking field goals for me. Honestly.
Ooh.
What?
I had to pull that one out on that. All right. So I'm going to save my take on Tyler Bass for later. Because I got some hot takes that I want to get out there. So we're gonna wait on my take for that for later. So we're gonna move on to wide receiver depth. How are we feeling about Ja'Mori Maclin? Is this the new Tyrell Shavers? Is this just a guy that's going to be? Who was the wide receiver that the Bills had? Why can't I think of his name? That went to the Giants. That everybody wanted.
Isaiah
Hodgins.
Yeah.
Isaiah Hodgins. Is he the new Isaiah Hodgins? He's like the guy made a nice catch last week, the one-handed catch last week. He had that bomb. The first catch was 37 yards, and then he had obviously the big 71-yarder. And then we saw a lot of Trent Sherfield making some catches. We saw Nicole Hardman had the little short touchdown run, although he did have a drop too. But he's not a contested catch guy. We're never going to ask him to do that. So, Rad, I'll start with you. How do we feel about this? It looks like it's a battle for wide receiver 5, 6, 7. How do we feel? And does this maybe lead the Bills to possibly taking a longer look at one of these guys when they get ready to cut down to 53?
I think first and foremost, obviously, like you said, this is going to obviously push a lot of guys, especially at the bottom of the depth chart at wide receiver, right? I mean, we still have yet to see Skylar Bell play. We don't know the status on Shavers come the regular season. Obviously, Keon's hit or miss, right? I mean, that spot, those 5, 6, and 7 spots, whatever they do there's a lot of leeway. There's a lot of movement, a lot of possibilities, and obviously we'll see how that plays out next week and how camp goes and practice and, whatever. But I want to say Well, yes, it's great to look at this situation and look what he did today. Outstanding numbers, right? Great numbers. If I look at it with blinders, but I have to address the fact that in the past, we've seen these one-off game performances. I mean, we saw it last year. Keon did it against Baltimore, 8 catches, 110 yards, a touchdown, right? We saw Khalil Shakir do it. We've seen Trent Sherfield do it in small sample sizes in the past. We've had guys that'll come in and they'll have these big games, and then they'll turn around and they'll drop, 1 catch on 3 targets for -3 yards. And it, to me, and obviously a fifth string wide receiver, I'm not going to look at him to have 10 catches, but it's not going to come down to who can produce. It's who can produce consistently, who can give me the consistent 50, 60, 70 yards a game, and then go off and get me 100 yards and a touchdown. I'm more worried about the fact that there is not 6 or 7 guys on the roster right now at wide receiver that I can confidently put out on the field and say, yeah, I can trust you. Yeah, I feel like I can trust you to go out and get me a good game, get me some catches, get me some yards, get me a touchdown, go make a play, go block. I don't see 7 guys on this roster at wide receiver that can do that.
Rob, what's your thoughts, brother?
Well, let's just break this down from a numbers perspective. So you're going to have probably carry 6 receivers. That's just a thing that most teams do. Rarely 7. If you just go down the depth chart, you have DJ Moore, that's number 1. Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Josh Palmer. We're at 4 already. Skylar Bell, you're not going to cut your 4th round rookie. And then you get to Mecole Hardman or Trent Sherfield. I'd imagine one of the two makes the team for special teams purposes. So now you really only have maybe 1 spot, if that. Is that going to go to a guy that had 1 good game? Okay, hold on. A 71-yard touchdown is awesome. Don't get me wrong. He broke 2 tackles, ran to the house. Awesome. Great. Where was this guy last week? So every year we have these preseason darlings. These are the guys that end up on practice squads. That's awesome, but you're not going to make the roster.
Lance is my spirit animal. I was just going to say, don't be surprised if it's Trent Sherfield, because what he does on special teams.
Yes.
Now Mecole Hardman, he's a punt returner. Cool. But if anybody's been paying attention, how many different guys have we seen back trying to return punts already in 2 preseason games? Ray Davis was back there doing it today. They've had, I think Frank Gore was out there doing it. Frank Gore Jr. was out there doing it. They're trying to figure that out. And that's not a good sign for Mecole Hardman. Yes, he did have that short touchdown catch today, but you can also see they were making a point to target Trent Sherfield. Now, I know a lot of receivers didn't dress today, which is fine, but I think Trent Sherfield is a Brandon Beane guy. I think that he's a guy that you know what to get from him. He's going to be a gunner. He's going to make special teams tackles. He's not going to be injured. He's going to be reliable. If you need him in a pinch, he could be your wide receiver 4 or 5 that you could count on over an undrafted rookie and a guy who's been around the league, Mecole Hardman, for a while. That's just kind of bouncing around the league. So I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. I mean, I saw some people on Twitter today were talking about they might keep 7, which I don't think you keep 7 because I think you start talking about where are you taking away from if you're going to have 7 receivers? Are you taking away from the defensive line? Are you taking away from the secondary? Are you taking away from linebackers? So the special teams thing is really important that we all need to try to just pay attention to and just keep an eye on. We will do next week. We are going to do, it's going to be a little bit of a different show for everybody. We're going to do a 53-man roster prediction because the cutdowns are Sunday, a week from tomorrow. And then obviously the Bills they can, spot touch here and there, some of their stuff. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. Again, is this a Christian Wadeism where it's like, oh my gosh, this guy, why isn't he on an NFL team? Like, how did he go undrafted? He's amazing, but we'll have to see. Definitely, I think he's a practice squad guy. I don't think he's a 53-man guy. I think that Maclin's definitely a practice squad guy. All right. Pass rush. I've seen a lot of mixed feelings about pass rush, including our own Built in Buffalo group chat, some stuff I've seen online. Rob, I'll start with you. Now, there was no Bradley Chubb. There was no Greg Rousseau. There was no Michael Hoyt. We had we did have TJ Parker out there. We did have some of the other guys out there from last year's draft. Javon Solomon looked really good. I saw him out there. He had a sack today. What's your thoughts on the Bills pass rush? Are you concerned, or is this just a meh? It's preseason. What's your thoughts?
There's a mix of both. I mean, you're always going to look at it as, oh, okay, it's preseason. These are the backups. These guys are probably not going to play. But here's the thing that gets me is in the first quarter specifically, third down, Shedeur has all day to walk around and decide to make a throw. And those are the guys you spent second and third round picks on the field. That's the thing that bothers me. These are high capital investments that are not showing up against backups. And that is, to me, scary because that shows a lack of development. And we get back to this with McDermott, that he wasn't able to develop these rookies. And it's cause for concern to me.
Rad, what's your thoughts, man? I think, honestly, I mean, seriously, I agree with Rob here. I feel like a lot of people who are going to watch this are going to say, wow, you agree with Rob a lot. He brings up a lot of great points, I will say. I hate the fact that we're spending day 2 and day 3 picks on guys where I have a question mark, not a year in, but 2 years in, 2 off seasons in, where I'm sitting here and I'm wondering, am I going to see him show up on Sunday? Or is he going to be a healthy scratch like Landon Jackson? Is he going to miss time? And then we're going to have this, off-season OTA, the summer goes by, and he's like, oh, I put on 20 pounds, and, I'm stronger. I'm going to use my power. Yeah, that's all good and well until you start getting pushed around by guys that weren't even on an NFL roster last year. And you sit there and you're not making an effect. I liked what Mike Dana brought today. I will say, if I'm going to speak something positive, I like what Mike Dana brought today.
2 games in a row.
Right. And I will say the pass rush late in the game was there. But if I'm looking at the guys who are fighting for the bottom end of this roster, who are fighting for those second string spots, the third string spots, I'd much rather trade for DJ Moore, who everybody said the day 2, day 3 pick was that was an exorbitant price. I'd rather trade for him 50 times over and trot out the guys we've been trotting out for the last few years than spend my time wasting my time on guys that are not going to show up on Sunday. They're just not.
I'm so glad you said that because I have been for 3 years. I've been on the train pounding the table for get me proven guys. I understand how building a roster as a general manager works. You have to draft well. But if you haven't drafted well, you need to look at your roster and say, how can I improve if these guys aren't coming along the way that we thought they would progress out of college? I need to go get a proven guy. And I'm going to say this, and I'm probably going to make a lot of people mad, but Bradley Chubb is the perfect 3-4 defensive end outside linebacker for this defense. And I feel like he's going to have a really good season. I'm talking 12, 13 sacks. You guys can call me crazy, think that I'm just a homer and I'm shooting for the sky. If you watch what he did last year, coming off of an ACL for a horrible defensive team in Miami, he's going to have a good. Now he's got somebody on the other side in Greg Rousseau, who's also going to have a good season because Jim Leonard is going to let these guys play free. Am I concerned about what I saw today? A little bit, but I don't think we really saw the Bills trying to get after the quarterback today. I think that today was more of contain because if you're going against a Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson, let them make mistakes. And what happened? They let them make mistakes. So I'm not saying you're going to do that every week against, starting caliber quarterbacks that are franchise guys, but I'm not concerned yet. I'm really not. If we get into week 3, week 4, there's still no pass rush for the 10th year in a row, then yeah, we need to start having different conversations. But I feel like let Jim Leonard cook, let him get his stuff together, let these guys get out there. Again, no Greg Rousseau today, no Bradley Chubb today, no Michael Hoyt today. So I think it is what it is. So, all right, next topic. Running backs. Now, I think we can all agree that the Bills will carry at least 3 running backs. That's what they've done forever. I don't know if Joe Brady is going to change that philosophy. I don't know if they're going to keep the fullback. They seem pretty high on their fullback. So Frank Gore and what's his
Ian Wheeler.
Ian Wheeler. Thank you. God, I had brain fart. I like Ian Wheeler. I liked him a lot, and I've posted for a couple weeks now that I like Ian Wheeler. I like what he's done. Obviously, he is a UFL guy. We know what Frank Gore is, and I think both games. Now, yes, it's preseason and they're playing against backups, but I think both guys looked really good. So we'll start with you, Red. Like, what's your thoughts on Frank Gore Jr. and Ian Wheeler, especially since we don't know what's going on with Ty Johnson? And I think we all know what Ty Johnson means to this team, what he means to Josh Allen, the offense, third downs, stuff like that. Like, what's your thoughts?
I will say that unknown is a very big deal. I feel like a lot of the people in the media are underplaying that a bit. The impact that Ty Johnson has, and I hope whatever he's dealing with, I hope he gets through that and he's healthy, because I love Ty Johnson on this team. But I will say I was up here last week, and I know, yes, it's just 2 preseason games, but I was up here last week campaigning for Frank Gore Jr., talking about his explosiveness, talking about his ability, his power. And he came out today and made me look like a flat out liar. I mean, I don't want to say it was uninspired. I don't want to say it was not exciting, but it certainly wasn't what I saw last week. It wasn't what I thought I was going to see this week. And in the meanwhile, Ian Wheeler was over here performing like a stud. He continued to excel. He continued what he did last week, obviously scoring that touchdown last week against Carolina. To me, Ian Wheeler is starting to make that push for the RB3, hypothetical RB4, depending on whatever Ty Johnson does on that practice squad slot. With 1 game to go, I want to see what Frank Gore Jr. does. I want to see if he can respond, if this is a one-off game, but I have to give the upper hand to Ian Wheeler here. I really do, because he's 2 weeks in a row now has gone out and played like the guy who's going to fill that order. And obviously Ray Davis had a great day today in 1 drive, but I won't get into that.
Rob, what's your thoughts, brother?
I think Frank Gore has just obviously an upper hand in this battle between the two of them. I think it's telling that Ian Wheeler is the one that got the most carries today by far, because Frank Gore has secured a spot on this roster already, assuming that Ty Johnson is not good to go to start the year. Frank Gore shows up in these preseason games. I don't know if you guys remember last year, but last year he had the highest PFF grade among rookie running backs. He had the most rush yards, and he had the most rush yards after contact. This is a guy that shows up in these types of games. We were all shocked by this guy last year. And here's the thing. He's gotten better. He's actually a pretty damn good receiving back now. Every single practice I've been to this offseason, this guy has shined in the pass game. And we heard it being reported 2 weeks ago that the Bills are looking to get their backs involved in the passing game more. This is a guy that fits this team, fits this roster, and fits this scheme.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, we don't know specifics on Ty Johnson. They have been extremely close-lipped on giving us length about these injuries, right? Which is, it's preseason. They're not going to give us specifics. They don't need to be reported on injury reports like in the regular season every day. So I think everything's been kind of vague. We will talk about some other guys who have missed playing time in a little bit. It's one of our other topics, so I don't want to touch on it too much. Next topic, though. All in all, the defense, we've seen 2 games now. Obviously, last week was a little different because there were some starters that played. This week, it was a lot of depth guys. It was a lot of battling for position, a lot of guys that were like the Jordan Hancocks of the world who were put in at safety and to see if they can be adaptable to playing different positions. So, Rob, what's your thoughts on how the defense has looked the first 2 preseason games? Obviously, we cannot compare it to the last 9 years because it's preseason, right? There's been a lot of people in and out of the lineup. There's been a lot of different things happening. So, like, what's your take so far? How do you feel? I'll phrase it that way. How do you feel about the Bills defense after 2 preseason games?
I would say I'm definitely worried about the safety depth. I think overall the depth, though, is pretty manageable. Like the defensive line, we're pretty stacked. We got some draft caliber, players there. but I'm a little worried depth-wise. I think Geno Stone was absolutely horrible today. I mean, we heard it from Bengals fans how bad this guy is in coverage. Today was embarrassing just to watch. And another thing, I know DeMar Hamlin had the pick today, and I know we talked about it in the group chat today. DeMar Hamlin shows up when he needs to. He needs to show up, and he does it. But that entire drive, the guy was getting picked on over and over and over again, and then lucks his way into a play. It's so aggravating. That being said, I think we need some free agent help on the back end.
Red, what do you think, man? It's now no CJ Gardner-Johnson. We have to put that out there. No Cole Bishop for 2 games. Like, we got to put that out there that it's probably going to look a little different. What's your thoughts, man?
I will say the Geno Stone thing, Rob just hit it out of the park. I mean, that touchdown that Shedeur had on the opening drive, he has his back turned. He had his back turned to the ball. I wish I could throw the clip up on the screen right now. I'm telling, and you can see what I'm seeing in my eyes right now. He had his back turned to the receiver. He's not even looking at him. He's not even trying to defend the play. He's just staring at him. Like, he's staring in the backfield. I hate that. I'm trying not to lose my composure right now because I've been nothing but disappointed from the safety position. And I want to look at the bright side of things today. I really do, because Davison Igbinosun came out and did exactly what I thought he was going to do. He was extremely physical again. He played extremely well. He showed me shades of somebody. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but he showed me shades of somebody I haven't seen in a minute. But I can't move past the fact that Geno Stone, and I may turn a little, I don't know, I might upset somebody. I'm kind of tired of the charity case on the other side. I'm kind of tired of it. It's 2 years too long. DeMar Hamlin has had an impact on this roster. 2 years too long. I look back at Denver last year. I look back at a handful of times last year. Like Rob said, he finds his way into lucky situations, lucky scenarios where he's getting a meatball sub thrown from the guy in Baltimore, or, he's sitting in the perfect spot for a tip pass today. He's not good. He's not.
I mean, I've been on record many times talking about DeMar Hamlin, and I think that we've all moved past. It's okay to talk negatively about DeMar Hamlin. Like, what happened. It's been 3 years. It was unfortunate, but I always thought that DeMar Hamlin was a Sean McDermott guy, but apparently I'm wrong. Apparently he's a Brandon Beane guy. And I'm not trying to knock DeMar Hamlin, because he does find himself in some fortunate situations, but that's situational football, right? He puts himself in the position to make those plays. So I can't knock the guy for having an interception. There was a comment about Geno Stone, and you guys have to start paying attention to Jalen Kilgore, because that's a guy that I think that is very versatile. Jordan Hancock, I feel like he has flashed all preseason and training camp, and he played safety today, and he made some pass breakups. So I absolutely don't think that Geno Stone is a lock to make the 53. I don't care how much they're paying him. So it's going to be really interesting to kind of see. Again, I don't want to talk too much about injuries, because that's a topic that we're going to discuss later on. We're going to talk about the secondary and stuff like that. So, all right, if you guys haven't already, smash the like button, please. If you guys are watching this, if you like the show, the easiest thing you can do to support us is to like the show wherever you're watching this, on YouTube or Facebook. If you guys can subscribe, that'd be great. We're trying to grow this YouTube channel into a monster, and hit that bell so you get notified when all of our shows are live on the Built in Buffalo YouTube channel. All right, next topic. Backup quarterback. I've seen a lot of stuff already come out right after the game. I think the Shout podcast did something. I've seen some other podcasters out there already talking about the backup quarterback. So, Rad, I'm going to go to you. Did today do anything to give you a determining factor on who the backup quarterback should be? Is there a battle anymore, or no?
I'll tell you right now, it did give me a deciding factor, and not in the way you think. It decided for me that I don't want either of these guys. I'm on the bandwagon with Rob. I'm on the bandwagon with Rob now. I don't want either of these guys. I'm kind of tired of it. I'm really sick of seeing the same two guys go out put up the same 2 crappy performances and look at each other in the mirror and say, "Oh, we're really battling for this backup spot." They're not. They're not. I'm not going to kid with myself. I came across something today from an article I read talking about Super Bowl contenders. We have the top 16 Super Bowl contenders. We have the worst rated backup quarterback of all 16 teams. I don't want to sit here and pretend like sports betting and, Vegas is always right. But I'll tell you this, they're more right than wrong. They're definitely more right than wrong. I keep going back and thinking about what the Browns did in 2023 with Joe Flacco. If Josh Allen goes down and we have to find that replacement guy, I don't feel really confident in seeing Kyle Allen or Shane Bichelle going out there for 5 or 6 games. I really don't. I don't think that this roster can manage losing Josh Allen. So to sit here and play around with this whole idea that, we feel comfortable as if Josh is some indestructible guy made of some otherworldly material is stupid. It's stupid.
Our guy Scott right here. If Josh goes down, whether it's a game, 3 game, it doesn't really matter.
Thank you, Scott.
And then if like any of those 16 teams that are contenders in the AFC or in the NFL, they lose their guy, it's over. I mean, now, Rob, before you go, if Josh Allen gets injured for a series, I'm okay with Kyle Allen going in there and handing the ball off to James Cook and Ray Davis. And if he's got to complete a 3rd down pass, he can probably throw a bubble screen to Khalil Shakir. Like, I'm okay with that. If it's week 9 and Josh gets something crazy, knock on wood, and he's out for a while, season's over. It's over, right? He can't go down because one of these guys is not going to win them those games where Josh Allen has to win them those games. It's just not going to happen. And I think that you can say that about anybody in the NFL if they have a franchise quarterback. Rob, I hope I didn't steal your thunder, brother.
Not at all. And I want to highlight this comment from Sandra. I mean, I said it last week. These are Josh Allen's golf buddies. That's what we're dealing with right now. These are NFL caliber quarterbacks to a certain extent, if you really want to stretch it that far. But I truly, my heart of hearts, I think that the backup quarterback is not on the roster yet. And what I mean by that is Tennessee's going to get rid of either Mitch or Will Levis. You're going to see Anthony Richardson potentially get released. You're going to see Mason Rudolph potentially get released. I think we're going to scoop up one of those guys. And we've seen it in the past where, I don't know if you guys remember when Case Keenum, I think it was the Texans. Case Keenum got cut by the Texans and we scooped him at the last second after he got cut. I think we potentially see a situation like that. So I don't want to get too worked up and have my blood pressure go up over a backup quarterback in preseason, but that's what I think.
I mean, if you look at this game, if you're just a box score type of person and you're like, he was 10 for 12. He wasn't bad, right? He led a couple scoring drives. What sealed it for me that I'm not the play where he rolled out to the right and he threw a 2-yard pass. I don't remember if it was to Sherfield or if it was to Ray Davis. He only ran the play. There was no thought about the play at all. He snapped the ball. The play was called to be that, and he made the play. So now I understand it's preseason, but there was no IQ involved in that play at all. I could have rolled out and just dumped the ball off right there for a 2-yard loss. And that's the issue that I have. Like, he didn't even look at the coverage. He wasn't even paying attention to any pre-snap, like, okay, the linebackers are here, the safety's creeping up, like, and then immediately when he threw the ball, I could tell when I'm like, don't throw the ball, dude. They are tracking this receiver. Don't throw, and he threw the ball. So I'm not going to get too worked up about it, but I feel like this has been something that the Bills need to stop having it be a revolving door for the last 10 years. You have a guy in Josh Allen who has the longest active streak of games played. Is that going to last forever? I hope so, but I don't know, right? It's been 9 years of him. He hasn't missed a game since his rookie season, right? Like, there has to be a guy that they have to invest time in to develop as a somewhat similar version of Josh Allen so that the offense can run similar if he misses a series or a half or, God forbid, a game or two. And it's just not there. And I know people in the comment section are going to get all worked up. You're talking about preseason backup quarterbacks. Like, it's an important position that Brandon Beane has neglected because they've gone with Mitchell Trubisky because he's friends with Josh, Keenan Allen or Kyle Allen because he's friends with Josh, all the other guys that are friends with Josh, right? So they need to figure that out because we've had the most durable quarterback for 8 years. How long is that going to last? And I don't want to jinx it, but like, we can't just rest on the fact that Josh is going to play 17 games. So especially the way he plays, you know, that is a great idea, Roy. All right. Next topic. How do we feel about our rookies? How do we feel about not last year's draft class? How do we feel about the 2026 Buffalo Bills draft class? Rob, I'll let you lead this one off, brother.
I will say, and I wrote an article when we drafted TJ Parker. I am a huge Clemson fan. A lot of people don't know that. I watched every single snap of TJ Parker's career at Clemson, and I was pissed off when we picked him because I saw a guy that had a questionable motor. That's what I saw in film. And also what I saw in film was a guy that struggled in the pass game. He struggled to get pressure against quarterbacks that weren't that great. And he was tremendous in the run game. And I'm sick of the Bills drafting guys that just stuff the run because that's what they've consistently not been able to do for a decade now. And TJ Parker has really, really surprised me in the pass game. I mean, we saw it today. He had a quarterback hit, and last week we saw the sack. He was playing with urgency and a motor and something that I have not seen for a while. I mean, what pissed me off as a Clemson fan last year, and I wrote about it in our article, last year down the stretch when games didn't matter for Clemson anymore, this guy just stopped playing with any urgency whatsoever. So it's great to see that development, and I want to see where this guy goes.
Rad, what's your thoughts, brother?
I mean, I can't help but agree, right? I mean, ranked damn near the bottom of the league in rush defense last year, and we're sitting here picking guys that stuff the run. Like, it's not making a difference. It doesn't make a difference. And hopefully TJ can evolve from that and, you know, become this guy that we essentially spent a first round pick on, because that's really what it ended up being. I kind of want to shift my attention to Jude Bowry. It's 2 straight weeks where he's just kind of
not good.
Get extreme. Yeah, not good.
Not good.
It's like healthy scratch territory. Like, we're getting towards, like, will he even touch the field? And I know Andrew Catalan and Steve Tasker, love those guys, by the way, talked about it today, that swing tackle spot was open, that 6th offensive lineman spot was open. I don't know why they mentioned Jude Bowry in that conversation. I really don't, because nothing about what he does as a football player, as an offensive lineman, really inspires me. Like, it really just makes me sit down and say, you know what? This guy can be that swing tackle. Maybe in a dire situation can be the guy I'd slide at right tackle. I don't trust him to do that. I don't trust him to hand Spencer Brown a cup of Gatorade. I mean, he's running into guys he's supposed to be blocking for downfield last week. He's sitting here. The problem I had with Spencer Brown, he's setting too wide. He's getting too over-involved with people on the outside. He's not allowing his teammates to also do their job. He's trying to do too much. And there's just no place for that. There's just no place for that when you also don't bring the power, the speed that makes up for those kinds of mistakes. He doesn't play at 100,000 miles an hour. He doesn't put that effort forward. And again, 1 more week to go. We'll see what happens next week. If he makes the 53, it'll be a weekly scratch, and that will be a disappointment for me. That would be a real big disappointment.
Yeah, Rob, you talk about TJ Parker, and I was not a fan of the pick on draft night, or day 2, I should say, of the pick. Now, I'm not saying he can't evolve into something, but I did see something today that had me inspired. Obviously, last week he had the sack, which was nice. This week, there was a play when Shedeur Sanders was scrabbling out to the left. TJ Parker was involved with 3 Browns offensive linemen and was moving all 3 of them out to try to get through the muck to get to Shedeur Sanders. That was inspiring because we were told, like Rob, like you mentioned, he was a guy that didn't play with that sense of urgency. He was a guy that if you wanted to, you just push him aside and he's not involved and you could just go around him or go in between him. So that was really nice. IGB, Davison Igbinosun, I think is going to be very similar to Stephon Gilmore. I don't know who you were going to mention earlier, Rad, but to me, there was the talk about him being too sticky with the hands and he would get, all the holding or pass interference penalties. I feel like watching his tape from last week, and I haven't seen the tape yet because it's not out yet, but seeing what I saw from him through the joint practice and all the other stuff that's going on, I like this kid. And if Maxwell Hairston's not going to be on the field because of they're trying to load manage him because he's coming off of another injury, second year in a row, there might be a CB2 battle that is a lot bigger than we are even thinking about. Like a lot of people just assume that Hairston was the guy. He's fast. He's aggressive. Jim Leonard loves him. He's going to be this guy that fits perfectly. But IGB is this guy who is also physical, and I've seen a lot from him. So as far as the rookies go, like I'm not really going to put too much stock in what they're doing, playing up against, guys that aren't going to be on rosters and there's really no scheme involved and they're just kind of out there just running plays. But it's going to be really interesting to see, next preseason game is going to be the determining factor, obviously, for those guys that are going to make the bottom of the 53 and the practice squad. So, yeah, Scott's right on, man. Like IGB I've been impressed with him. So, all right. Next topic bleeds right into our next topic. How much of a level of concern should we have that we haven't seen Cole Bishop? We haven't seen CJ Gardner-Johnson. Today, Kilgore didn't play. We've seen some other guys. Maxwell Hairston hasn't played. Like, Rad, I'll start with you. Like, what's your thoughts on the lack of reps? And I know it's preseason and these guys probably wouldn't have been playing a lot of starting reps anyways because they're always going to gauge what they do during practice. But like, what's your thoughts, Rad?
I think at least on the Bishop front, I'm not really concerned about that. We saw him last week pregame. He's been doing a lot of great stuff in practice. He'll be ready to go. I know Bishop will be ready. Like you said before, though, that Hairston one is the big glaring one to me because if you're going to play at that weight and your thing's going to be speed, you can't be having lowered leg injuries. You can't be having those nagging injuries where you're trying to work back all the time. He missed so much time last year as a first-round pick trying to deal with injuries. He's going to miss time this year dealing with injuries, it already seems like. I want to know what's going on. I said it last year. I've said it a few times. I want to know what's going on with the strength and conditioning department where all these DBs are getting hurt. And I get like CJ Gardner-Johnson has the calf strain issue, and I think he rushed back. Honestly, he rushed back. There was no reason to come back that quickly. Just 5 days removed. Yeah. I don't agree with that. But something has to be said about the way that these DBs are working out, their conditioning, they're practicing, because to have this kind of stigma where everybody's getting hurt with lower leg injuries, with ankle injuries, knee injuries, right? Something else is going on behind the scenes here that we obviously don't know about because we're not at One Bills Drive, but it's just something that needs to be handled.
Rob, what's your thoughts on the DB room?
You always kind of have to get worried when there's a switch of a scheme and there's guys that have never played in a scheme like this before, especially such a huge switch up of a play style for cornerbacks. I mean, we talked about it last week. This scheme is so much different than Sean McDermott's defense from a cornerback perspective because you're putting hands on guys consistently. And you have to worry about a guy like Maxwell Hairston, who has not played in a scheme like that. He played in his own scheme in Kentucky. And I think typically, you have that worry of guys like Cole Bishop as well and safeties that have not played in this scheme before. And personally, I always get worried after a guy has a breakout season that he does not follow it up after that breakout season. I always get worried about that. That's just me. Does Cole Bishop show up again this year? That's always a question mark.
Cole Bishop's a stud, dude.
I have every reason to be worried about everything all the time.
When they drafted Cole Bishop, I was ecstatic. Like, I wanted him. He was on every mock draft I did. I took him no matter how I had to move up and down the board. I took Cole Bishop. I feel like hopefully what Rad was talking about with like the lower leg injuries, hopefully that's something that isn't going to hamper this team. Now I do know the biggest difference to me between Jim Leonard's defense and Sean McDermott's defense is he lets his guys play a little bit more free, which means we have to get used to the fact that they're going to probably make some more mistakes than we're used to, where with McDermott, it was just never giving up big plays over top, never giving up big plays. But now we saw how aggressive Cole Bishop was last year. CJ Gardner-Johnson is a ball hawk. He is a guy that's going to be aggressive. And unfortunately, there's going to be a little bad that's going to come along with a lot of the good that he does. So I think with the DBs, I wouldn't be surprised if they sign somebody that falls off of a roster next week or the week after. If they sign somebody that's cut off of, somebody trying to make a 53 or cutting down to a 53, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Tre'Davious White back with the Bills as a depth piece. I'm not saying I'm for it. I'm just saying, like, I would not be surprised. Unless ultimately that's just something that's not going to work. He is a zone corner, and that's not something that would definitely work for Jim Leonard, but you never know. All right. So on to our next topic. What are the key takeaways that you guys have? And Rob, I'll start with you. What are your key takeaways, not from just this preseason game, but we'll lump last week's in as well. Like, what are your key takeaways from what you've seen through 2 weeks of preseason with the Bills?
My key takeaway is that if this is what a quarter of this offense is going to be, we are in for a show this season on offense. I mean, these guys are moving the ball with ease, very easily. We're seeing a lot of different switch up in the run game. We're seeing power runs. We're seeing outside runs. We're seeing a lot of versatility, and I cannot wait to see what these guys pull out in the regular season.
Rad, what's your thoughts, man?
I absolutely agree with that. I mean, it's been a while since I've watched a Bills offense and said to myself, man, something interesting is happening before the snap. Something interesting is happening something interesting happening on the field, right? I don't want to blame it's Joe Brady. I don't want to blame Ken Dorsey, right? But I haven't had this kind of excitement for a Bills offense in a really long time. Even after the 2024 season, we're going to see a lot from this offense, and hopefully a lot more 13 personnel. I love when we run 13 personnel. It seems like that's going to be a concerted effort this year. I can't wait to see what this offense brings to the table in terms of exoticness, versatility, strength, power, just blending it all together and making one big, beautiful pie. I just want a nice pie. You know what I'm saying? It's a nice cherry pie sitting on the windowsill.
Just imagine the offense that we saw last week. Again, everything's with a grain of salt. It's preseason, but there was no tight end involvement last week. It was all just DJ Moore and Khalil Shakir, basically. Like, they didn't go heavy into throwing the ball downfield to Dalton Kincaid. And we all know how good the Bills' offense is when Dalton Kincaid's on the field. He changes the complete dynamic of this team's offense. So if we can get 17 games of Dalton Kincaid, that would be fantastic. To me, the biggest takeaways to me are I am enjoying watching, and I'm not saying it's better yet. I'm enjoying watching a different defensive style, because when Sean McDermott, whether it was preseason or regular season, we knew what they were going to do. You're going to get frustrated because they can't stop the run. You're going to get frustrated because there's no pass rush. You're going to get frustrated from saying bend but don't break. I think with Jim Leonard, and it's only been two preseason games, and there's been a lot of depth players playing. So I think ultimately we will see a lot more diversity once the regular season, hits. It's nice to see different looks, like press coverage. It's nice to see guys, linebackers, playing more free and not having 1,000 responsibilities pre-snap and then post-snap and doing all this stuff. It's nice to see 5 guys on the defensive line. Like, it's nice to see that spread, that wide 9 or whatever. It's nice to see it. And I'm looking forward to, seeing what they can do once they have their starters in there. Everybody's healthy week 1 against Houston, because I feel like a lot of people are talking about how they're afraid of the Houston defense going up against that Bills offensive line because the offensive line hasn't looked great. They're still figuring out who's going to be the left guard. I honestly think that it's not going to make a difference because I feel like the Bills offense is going to be Joe Brady's going to be so ready with stuff that nobody's seen before. And it's the DJ Moore effect, right? It's going to be stuff that we're going to get excited to see. I haven't been this excited for an offense since Brian Daboll was here in 2020. That offense was so fun to watch every single week. So it's going to be interesting. All right. Heading into the final preseason game. What do you guys want to see? Red, I'll start with you. What do you want to see out of the final preseason game? Obviously, there's probably going to be no starters playing. These are going to be guys that are fighting to make the final 53 in the practice squad. Is there something you're looking forward to that you want to see someone grab a hold of something? Like, what's your thoughts?
I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I want to give Kyle Allen one last chance, because I did just go off on that real big thing about how I'm really tired of it. And I feel like they've written themselves off. But this team obviously needs a practice squad guy, right? I want to see Kyle Allen go out there and do something. What I really, really want to see, what I'm really looking forward to, I like Caleb Elam-Zor. I love that guy. I love everything he does, everything he is, everything's about. I look forward to seeing what he brings to the table next week against Pittsburgh. I can't wait to see what he does going forward. Hopefully next week he shows some more flashes like he did this week, and especially last week, what he's done in camp, and takes control of that spot. I feel like he's going to be pushing Dorian. I honestly feel like he's pushing Dorian at this point, maybe even a little bit past him, and maybe a preseason game won't help determine that. But I like watching Caleb Elam-Zor. I love watching him. He's just that prototype linebacker you really like to have on the field. You know what I mean? He's fun. I love him. He's fun.
Rob, what's your thoughts, man?
Next week, Thursday, I plan to go to my cabinet, grab a bag of popcorn, put it in the microwave, and watch Mecole Hardman versus Trent Sherfield. I want to see those two go at it next week. I think whoever has the better game ends up on this roster. I truly do think that. These guys are neck and neck right now. They have different forms of versatility for this team, and I think they're going to be fighting for that 6th receiver spot. So, to me, that's my movie next week. I want to see those two go at it, and we'll see what happens.
I think, to me, the offensive line, because we know it has been so for so long where the Bills have a starting 5 and then they have that second 5. And for so long now, how many years in a row, if one of those guys went down, they could just plug one of the other guys in, seamless transition. Connor McGovern has not played a snap in preseason, right? They're going up against the Houston Texans, like I just mentioned. That defensive line is disgusting, right? We still don't know who our left guard is. Is it Austin Corbett? Is it Alec Anderson? I'm not saying a week 3 preseason game is going to decide that, but somebody show me something, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how they work out that offensive line. Are the Bills going to do what they've typically done and kept 9/10 offensive linemen? And then some of, like I love Caleb Elam-Zor too. Like I feel like he's definitely pushing Dorian Williams. And Dorian Williams missing time this spring and some of the summer, like I don't think helps his cause. I just show me some clean plays. I want to see some of the guys that are going to make the back end of this roster. Show me some depth at corner. Show me some depth at safety. And then I think like these guys, like show me, I want to see more Landon Jackson. Like I want to see him play a couple quarters at defensive tackle. He had a nice run stop today. Like, show me some more Dwayne Carter. Like, that guy's fighting for his life on this roster. I know he's coming off an injury. Show me some more of those guys. Let them get a bunch of series under their belts, and then we'll kind of, we'll go from there and kind of see if the Bills are going to keep 10 defensive linemen, if they're going to keep a bunch of extra linebackers. So it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic of what they bring out. All right, let's do hot takes. I'm going first.
Go ahead. Have at it.
I'm going first. I think that Tyler Bass is going to have a resurgent season. I really do. I know that nobody wants to hear that. Everybody's concerned. Everybody thinks that he's been choppy all off season. He didn't kick in front of people. What's the deal? Why are we hiding Tyler Bass? I think he's fine. Now, some people say the 52-yarder just barely snuck in. I don't care. It went in. He didn't miss any extra points. They were right down the middle. I feel like there was some, I don't want to say it was a force like of pressure for Tyler Bass. I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say that maybe there has been a weight lifted off of Tyler Bass. If you guys know, if you get my drift, I think Tyler Bass just needs to go out there and kick. Now, we have to talk about who's holding for Tyler Bass because that has still not been decided. Between the two punters, they've been going back and forth. That's just as big of a factor on Tyler Bass as anything else. So if they get that right and they get that figured out, if they go with the veteran Wisnowski, if they go with the rookie, whatever they do, I think Tyler Bass is going to have a bounce back season, and I think he's going to be pretty damn good. So, all right, Rad, I'll let you go first. What's your hot take, brother?
Well, unfortunately, you kind of swiped it from me earlier when we were talking about the rookies and
straight pass, homie.
Unfortunately, you swiped it from me. Davison Igbinosun will be the starter week 1. He's going to be the starting corner. I don't think Harrison will be healthy.
Oh
yeah. Even if Harrison is healthy, honestly, like even really having this talk, even if Harrison is healthy, I like Max Harrison in a matchup against, or not, sorry, not Max Harrison. I like Igbinosun in a matchup against a Nico Collins, right? A Tank Dell, whoever they tried out there at 3. Right? I like Davison Igbinosun. He looks like Stephon Gilmore. I'm looking into the camera. I'm looking at all of you watching.
You're
this
welcome.
Right now.
You're welcome.
I need you to connect with me. I need you to look at me. Look at me. We're gonna have a moment right now. He is Stephon Gilmore. He is Stephon Gilmore. It's like I saw a ghost. It's like I traveled back to when I was 8 years old and I saw a ghost on my screen. And hopefully he never goes to New England. That man is a franchise cornerback.
People forget how good Stephon Gilmore really was and how good he was right away. Like he was a lockdown corner. He even got better. When he went to New England, I remember the arguments between him and Trey White, who was the best cornerback or the all-pro or all that defensive player of the year. And Stephon Gilmore was a hell of a corner. So anyways, Rob, what's yours, brother?
I think one of us needs to be negative with our hot take today. So my take is not even player based. It's not even team based. I just have this hunch that there is going to be something that goes wrong with the stadium in winter. I don't know why.
Oh, geez.
I think there's going to be a lot of complaints with that canopy and the sun in winter. I think the way that they block out the sun, I think there's going to be a lot of disappointed people come winter just based off what I saw in the stadium. And I don't know how to elaborate on that without getting like into a 20-minute rant, but that's just what I'm going to leave it at that. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I mean, and you got to think too that when they were building the stadium, they had to, I mean, in theory, you would think that, okay, what does this look like when the sun is over there because it's a primetime game or the sun sets at a different time or whatever because it's October, November, December, January, February. Like you have to think that they did that. But then again, people are mad saying that they didn't disclose the obstructed view seats. So I have no idea. I do know that it's kind of from a couple people that have sat on one side that it's kind of similar to the Miami Dolphins Stadium where one side's completely shaded and the other side there was sun. Now the time it was during that practice, it was later in the evening, so it probably won't be like that, but it's interesting. We'll see what happens. I think there's a lot of trial and error going on. That's why they've had as much activities that they've had. They had the red and blue, then they had the open practice. I think they're trying to figure it out and nothing's going to be perfect. So, I guess we'll see what happens. All right. It's time for overtime. All right. Positions of concern, and then I want to touch on something that I put in the original topics, but then I changed it. So I do want to ask and have a conversation about it. So Is there a position of concern? And Rob, I'll let you go first. Is there a position of concern? It can be a position group. It can be a single position, whatever that the Bills have currently through 2 preseason games.
Yes. My biggest concern the entire offseason has been strong safety. I love CJ Gardner-Johnson, the person. I love just the dog that he has. He is the definition of dog. And what he said on the sidelines during the joint practice, it's check down city over here, check down city. That's awesome. I love all of that and everything that comes with that. But when it comes to a on-field perspective, this guy has not been that great the last 3 seasons, and you're expecting him to come in and be your starter right away and flourish in a new scheme. And that to me is very scary. This was a guy that was on 4 teams, at least 3, I think 4 teams last year, and nobody wanted anything to do with him because of his personality and play. So that's something that really concerns me this season.
Red, what's your thoughts, man?
I'm just going to keep hitting the same. I'm just going to keep beating the dead horse. Quarterback. Honestly, I'm looking at Arizona right now. And I'm kind of just talking freely, you know. I'm looking at Arizona and I see 3 guys, and I'm supposed to believe that all 3 guys are going to be vying for the starting quarterback spot. And I'm supposed to believe that Gardner Minshew won't be available after Thursday, after Saturday. Gardner Minshew won't be available to trade for. We can't send a 7th-round pick their way. I'm supposed to believe that Case Keenum's not going to survive roster cuts. I'm supposed to believe that some of these guys aren't going to be sitting here pretty, you know, with a little bow on their head like, hey, I need a job. That's just my opinion.
Could be. I mean, I don't know. Again, the assistant general manager / Josh Allen would have to okay those moves. So, you know, it is what it is. And I know a lot of people in the comments earlier saying that we were spending way too much time on the backup quarterback position, but it's important. It's important because if anything happens, if Josh Allen gets punched in the nose again and has to miss a series, I want someone to be able to sustain what the Bills are doing, especially if it's a game that means something. But anyways, I digress. All right. My concern, and I just kind of spilled the beans in last time, is the offensive line. Like, I understand it's preseason and they're trying to move bodies around and figure things out. But like I said, Connor McGovern has been dealing with an injury for a while. Alec Anderson and Austin Corbett have been splitting snaps at left guard. Spencer Brown did not look good last week. I'm just going to be honest. Deion Dawkins changed his weight. Osiris Torrance is the only guy that I can wholeheartedly say he was probably going to be the same guy that he was last year, which is a good thing. So going into week 1, coming out of preseason, coming out of training camp preseason, I want to make sure that these guys are healthy, number 1, and that the starting 5 is ready to go week 1. So I just want some sort of good news this week and next about Connor McGovern's injury status. That would be great. And then the topic I wanted to discuss with you guys, hot topic, red helmets. Okay. So Terry Pagula bought this team during the drought, right? We can all agree on that. That's a fact. Do you think there's a reason why Terry Pagula does not want the Bills to wear the red helmets? Up until last year was the first time in how long that they wore the red helmets. And I think that was firmly because Pete Goelli, who's their senior executive officer, I think he finally has a finger on the pulse of what Bills fans want. Because he hasn't always been with the Bills. He's been around other sports franchises. So do you think there's a reason why they're only doing the red helmets once a year? Like, now I understand the league has rules with the rivalry stuff, and now we have the Nickel City god-awful uniforms and other things. But the Bills, do you think it's something, and I just thought about this the other day, do you think it's something where Terry Pagula was like, I want to stamp my own identity into the Bills' history because the red helmets remind everybody of the glory days of Jim Kelly and the Super Bowls and Bruce Smith and Marv Levy. You know what I mean? Like, am I thinking too much into that? Because I don't think there would be one person that would bitch and complain for very long if the Bills switched their helmets to the red helmets permanently. Like, what do you guys thoughts on that? Am I crazy?
I just think typically in these circumstances, teams are just slow on what people want. I think you can really think back to everybody clamoring for the Sabres to bring back the goat head. It took 6 or 7 years probably of just demanding for this thing to come back before they finally said, okay, here you go. So I think within a year or two, we're going to see these things a lot more often.
Rad, what's your thoughts, brother?
I don't know. The fan in me wants to say that Terry hates me and he just wants to torture me for the rest of my life. But what I will say is we did a lot of clamoring a few years back when the gray face masks were still a thing. And obviously they heard that and changed that. So I think, honestly, it's just he doesn't want to, like you said, bring back the memory of Jim Kelly, of Thurman Thomas. Let that be ingrained on his legacy. He wants to win that Super Bowl in the white helmet. He wants to be Terry Pagula, the white charging Buffalo helmets. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he wants somebody else's legacy to stain on that. Kind of like what you said, Dave.
I just think that if you something that's kind of crazy to think about is all the coaches that have been here, Marv Levy and obviously Sean McDermott, the two longest tenured coaches. If the Bills win the Super Bowl, Joe Brady's going to do something that nobody else has ever done. Terry Pagula is going to be the owner that won the who owned the team when the Bills won the Super Bowl. Like, that stuff is, I think a lot of that stuff means something to these guys. Like Josh Allen has said numerous times, if we win a Super Bowl and bring the Lombardi to Buffalo, we will be immortalized in this city forever, for all time, because it's something that's never happened before. So I don't know. That's just something I was thinking about it the other day, because the Nickel City, they're not growing on me. They're not getting any better with any different variations that I see of cool Photoshop images and cool people doing edits and stuff. Like, they got to wear those twice, and it's not going to be a fun time. So that's going to be it for us for this week. We went over an hour and it breezed right through. Thank you to everybody that, hung around. There was a lot of people that were in here from the first minute all the way to the end. I do appreciate it. Rob, Rad, you guys got anything to say before we head out of here for the week? We'll see you guys back here. 8:30 is the time next Saturday. What do we got, boys?
I want to say, obviously, with everything that happened with Ed Oliver, there are people donating right now to Habitat for Horses. I will throw that link in the chat. I will be making a donation myself. Everyone's doing $9.10 or $91. If you are willing and able to contribute to an amazing organization that finds new homes for horses that were neglected. Obviously, Ed Oliver is a big horse guy. I think it's an amazing thing that Bills Mafia is doing this once again. And I would love for everyone to be a part of it if they, again, are willing and able.
Red? I love that, Rob.
I don't want to follow that. I think he just ended it perfectly. Honestly, I really do. That was perfect.
How about a Go Bills?
Go Bills.
Go Bills, baby.
See you guys next week. Go Bills.